Earlier this week, Marvel Studios' second in command, Victoria Alonso, a veteran of 15 plus years at the Hollywood enterprise, was humiliated in grand fashion, being fired by the Walt Disney Company. And well, at the time, we cut a video telling you exactly what we thought the reasons were, almost inarguably. And now, the Walt Disney Company has released their official version of things with their excuse. And it's absolute, utter crap. But you've come here to find out why that's their excuse, didn't you? Here we go. Renegade Online. Well, welcome back. Another great day here at Valiant Renegade. It's good to see everybody out there once again. And of course, if you were like one of the many folks watching this video, not yet subscribed to this channel, please take a moment, turn that little red subscribe button to gray, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, share this sucker out on the social medias of your choice. And of course, please do leave a comment before you head out the door today. Victoria Alonso back in the news. No surprise, she wasn't going away anytime soon. But now the game is afoot, and we are starting to see Miss Alonso clap back at the Walt Disney Company, and the Walt Disney Company draw the sword of the BS excuses. This is getting fun, and we're going to talk about why the Walt Disney Company is doing this. Let's take a look at the article from Variety magazine. Now, if there's any doubt on how badly both sides want this story to just go away, consider the fact that this was dropped on a Friday afternoon, 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time. This is notoriously, for decades, as far back as anybody in the news media can remember, this is when you drop stories that you want nobody, and I mean nobody, to really see until the next week. From Variety, Victoria Alonso's work as a producer of the Oscar-nominated feature film Argentina 1985 is being cited as the reason to fire the longtime Marvel Studios executive, according to 3 sources with knowledge of Alonso's exit. Alonso's attorney, however, pushed back on that justification, calling it, quote, absolutely ridiculous. In a statement to Variety, attorney Patty Glazer, who is representing Alonso in her departure from Disney, instead claims that the executive was, quote, silenced by the Walt Disney Company, and that she has the studio's blessing to work on this picture, Argentina 1985. At issue, according to the sources, was Alonso's 2018 employment contract with Disney that prohibited her from working on projects for any rival studio. Argentina 1985, which tracks the real-life trials of the country's final dictatorship, was produced in part by Amazon. After Argentina 1985 was selected as the nation's official submission for the Academy Awards, however, Alonso hit the awards season circuit to help bring the film to its eventual Oscar nomination for international film. Alonso was also reminded repeatedly in writing that she was in violation of her contract, these sources say, but she forged ahead anyway, walking the press line at the Oscars with Argentina 1985 director Santiago Mitre, rather than as one of the EPs of multiple nominee Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Just 8 days later, Alonso was fired for breach of contract and violation of Disney's standards of business conduct. Quote, the idea that Disney both knew and approved of her ability to work on Argentina 85, then ostensibly say they have cause to fire her over an interview or two in support of that film seems crazy, close quote, said one former Disney film executive who told Variety this on the condition of anonymity. Quote, the idea that Victoria was fired over a handful of press interviews relating to a personal passion project about human rights and democracy that was nominated for an Oscar, and which she got Disney's blessing to work on, is absolutely ridiculous, Glazer says. Quote, Victoria, a gay Latina who had the courage to criticize Disney, was silenced. She was then terminated when she refused to do something she believed was reprehensible. Disney and Marvel made a really poor decision that will have serious consequences. There's a lot more to this story, and Victoria will be telling it shortly in one forum or another. Now, there's no specificity at this point about what exactly was so reprehensible that the Walt Disney Company asked her to do. But I suspect, based on her attorney's language in this article with Variety magazine, that news will be forthcoming. Now, whether or not that has any veracity to it whatsoever, whether or not that is actually based in any truth at this point, doesn't really matter. This is going to be a PR war for the ages. And quite frankly, this brings us to the crux of this video. You see, obviously the Walt Disney Company anticipated this. And if you haven't seen the video that we did previously this week on why Victoria Alonso was fired, I suggest you go back and watch it. I'll leave a link to that video in the description of this one. But rest assured, it has primarily to do with the fact that Victoria Alonso had become an albatross on Marvel Studios. She was a terrible manager of business. She was named in 2021 as somebody who was to oversee all physical and post-production. And that didn't go so well. We have seen numerous Marvel titles come in over time and over budget. And that is a big problem when you're starting with $200 million to begin with, and those balloon to $250, $300 or $300 plus million before you spend a dime in marketing. And that doesn't even begin to account for the fact that recent films like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania have been absolute abject box office disasters for Marvel Studios. And it doesn't look like it's getting any better, as when that movie came out, The Marvels, the next movie that was slated to be released from the Disney studio, was moved from July to November for more major reshoots. In a statement sent to Variety magazine after the story had published, a Disney spokesperson called the comments by Alonso's attorney Glaser, quote, unfortunate. Quote, it is unfortunate that Victoria is sharing a narrative that leaves out several key factors concerning her departure, including an indisputable breach of contract and a direct violation of company policy. That would be Disney company policy, says the spokesperson. Quote, we will continue to wish her the best for the future and thank her for her numerous contributions to Marvel Studios. It appears Alonso's work on Argentina 1985 was a culminating event for the executive's tenure at Marvel, which had become increasingly fraught due to well-publicized criticisms of the studio's approach to visual effects, one of the departments Alonso oversaw. Marvel's most recent release, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, suffered withering criticism of its visual effects, and the film is one of the lowest-grossing MCU films in the company's history. Congratulations, Variety magazine. You finally got to the crux of the issue right there. Now, let me explain exactly what is going on. This excuse by the Walt Disney Company that Alonso violated terms of her contract by taking a gig with Amazon Studios for her quote-unquote passion project is probably 100% accurate. I also believe the fact that she was probably given leave by the Walt Disney Company to do so, but there's probably no evidence of it. You see, if you want to get rid of somebody like Victoria Alonso so that Kevin Feige doesn't have to take the sword point, as he should, for the failures of Marvel Studios through Phase 4 and now into Phase 5. You need a scapegoat, and you need one with an infallible legal argument that your lawyers don't have to go to discovery with. In other words, what would Disney rather do? Would the Walt Disney Company rather claim that they fired Victoria Alonso for piss-poor performance as the head of physical production and post-production VFX, where they would have to go to court and defend a failing Marvel Studios and say, hey, look at how bad Marvel is right now. Why, this is all Victoria's fault. You see what she did? That also opens the doorway for her attorneys to argue that Kevin Feige is the real problem. Disney doesn't want to even have a chance of going down that road. No. So you fire her for something that is ironclad, something that conceals the fact that Marvel Studios is in the piss-poor condition that it is. And that is to say that she simply breached her contract by taking a position with Amazon Studios as an executive producer adjacent to her role at Marvel Studios. That's all the Walt Disney Company needed to get rid of her. I'm sure the VFX houses out there, as we have covered ad nauseum at this point, are disgusted with her. Many of them probably have threatened not to work with Marvel Studios anymore. Many of them may have even decided, fine, we'll work with Marvel, but we're going to raise your rates double if we have to continue to work with her. Because she has been a mess, but she is a mess that Kevin Feige put exactly where he intended her to be, to shield public criticisms from himself. And that is where we are. That, I believe, that is my gut reaction of what is going on right now with the Walt Disney Company, Marvel Studios, and Victoria Alonso. Be interesting to see how this plays out over the next few months. And I can't wait to see this thing play out in the press and hopefully in court. Although I'm not holding my breath for that one. Until next time, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you're not already subbed. Please make sure you share this sucker out on the social medias. And take care.